Hi everyone, here's a look at Le Mans in the Pro Mazda. I noted on the original week's schedule it was the Le Mans Historic, which took away the chicanes down the front straight, but it looks like in the actual schedule it's moved to the classic track, which I think is a very good option because without the chicanes it'd be even more draft city. This is actually a TT lap from last season, but I was very happy with the laps, so we're just going to go with it. It's late afternoon instead of morning, but otherwise default. In my experience, late afternoon tends to be slightly slower, so the times might be, we might even get 57s this season. We'll see if it makes any difference. Now you just want to get a clean run through this section. It's not super important to maximize it, but yeah, but you want to make sure you don't lose time or else you lose it down this whole front straight here. Now coming up into here, this is the braking line, that white line on the left. Now you have sort of two options. When you come into it, you can downshift twice in the third. Now you're braking before it, so I guess kind of in between the two white lines, but I'm using sort of it as the marker point to brake before. Now you can either downshift twice in the third and you're going to lose torque on acceleration, or you can downshift 3 times in a second, and that gives you much better acceleration out of these next corners. But sometimes when you downshift in a second, it unsettles the car and you never really regain that grip, so it's spinning the wheels up exiting the corner, which costs you time. So I got down the second to turn in. You want to, of course, get a fairly early turn in for this first chicane. Not too much or else you cut it, but that's a good amount. I got the inside curb. Now you'll be turning in again to this next inside curb. Now you don't want to push the car out too wide, as there is an off track out here, which is very easy to get. So I've gone, you don't want to abuse that braking zone, so I've got the brakes fairly early just to get the car down to speed and settled, and I've got it fairly nicely over both the first and second curb, then accelerated out in second. No drama. Just flat down through here, staying flat, hugging to the right. Now into here, you're braking and you're trailing it in, so braking down 2 gears on entry. In the fourth. Now you want to be very careful to turn the car in tight. If you brake too late or don't turn in early enough and let it run wide, you kind of got to get it back to the left and back to the right, and you're out of sequence for this whole corner section. And this section actually carries speed out into the main straight, so that you don't want to lose speed by missing this apex. So just keep it fairly tight through here in fourth. Turn it into the right-hander. Now if you keep it tight in the first apex, you're probably on line through here and you're not likely to run off. If you're trying to bring it back onto a narrower line into this corner, what will happen is you can't get the car turned enough quite often. People end up on this outside grass, and once you touch that grass you're in that wall and you're gone. Okay, you can hit the slow motion button a few times to make it go even slower. There you go. So through here, I'm just shifting down once and sort of throwing it into that inside corner, trying to carry the most speed. You don't want to use too much of the inside curb, because if you clip these inside raised bits, it can sometimes bounce the car a little bit, and that just shoves it wide. But you do want to get fairly close to it, so get it down there, then just get hard back on the throttle. You can't use any of this outside area more than that, or else you get an off track. So you have to keep it on a fairly tight line. Just full speed down the straight. It's a bit boring. Okay. So you're braking around here around the 100-meter mark. You don't want to, if you throw the car in too much here and try and get it turned with so little downforce, it's often quite unsettled and you will spin. So just focus on braking at a sensible marker Right here I got pretty much straight on the 100 marker. Brake heavy, turn it in. You want to clip both this inside curb and then I guess the first apex, then get it back to the second apex here with the front left. So up over there and fourth, down another gear. Closing the line off by getting both the curbs with the wheels and then just pushing it out and getting back in the hard throttle. Nothing super aggressive here, just running both lines. Another full throttle section. Now in here, using the 100 meter marker as the braking point, but braking after it. Down 2 gears, turning in. Again, you want to get the inside left curb with the front left wheel, then bring it back and touch the right curb with the front right wheel. Push it out, but not too far. Just touch the outside curb. Basically the exact same sequence, only reversed of the previous chicane. I got a bit oversteer on entry there. To be fast around here, the cars have to be very aggressive, so it's not uncommon to pick up oversteer. Another straight. So I'm not really getting too close to the inside apex, not really worrying about it. I'm never quite sure if this is the correct approach, but it's how I've done it. I don't like to have the car turning too much, and if you enter from a wide line, you keep it fairly straight into the braking marker. Enter wide. Down in a second. Now it's very important to firstly get it down the gears fairly early, but second, you're aiming here. You're carrying the momentum of the corner, and although it's a fairly close to a 90-degree corner, you want to get it up over the inside curb to kind of open it a bit, and then push the car out. So hard braking down for and carrying the momentum. Straight back on the throttle. Another straight. Okay. So on here, I'm actually hugging the apex, so you just full throttle into there. You're not slowing the car at all. Now what I want to do is brake in a fairly straight line, so I'm using this as the braking marker. I'm braking slightly before it, and I'm getting the car quickly on the downshifts, and then throwing it into the inside apex. Now you can carry a lot of momentum through there. As you work up to it, it feels like you're just carrying more and more speed through that corner. The car, due to the camber of the corner, it really kind of tucks in there, so you just slam the downshifts and throw it into the apex and get immediately hard in the throttle. Now this corner is quite easy to run wide and lose a lot of time, so you've got to go down the second. So you're braking hard in a straight line, then turning in. You don't want to clip this inside curb too much, but you want to touch it. So you're kind of just bringing the car, touching it very gently, and running it out. Down too hard. Trail braking quite a lot in here. I've got quite a bit of steering angle on while the car's still under the braking. That'll get it really turned in there because it's quite a slow speed corner. You don't have that much aero grip around this track, and that gets it through there nicely. So just entering narrow in here, really aggressively down 3 gears and just throwing it into the apex. Very smooth through that section. Now we're just going for a run up to the best part of the track. I'm entering from wide. You want to keep it fairly into the, so you enter from wide to really open the track up, and then you just turn it in, just lifting the throttle, not using the brakes, just kind of modulating it, trying to keep the line into that inside apex. Now the car will immediately push So it's pushed from the apex across the whole track. Now it looks like you need to be back to the right hand side to enter this next corner, but you don't. You can enter it from fairly well left. So I'm just basically turning it in from the position it was in, bringing it out a little bit. It's fine. It can hold that section in full throttle. Just modulating the throttle, you want to keep it fairly much over to the left because you want to enter this next corner from wide. Just keep the throttle down to hold the line. Then you aggressively throw it in the right-hander. Now it's important to keep it stuck to this right-hand bit of the track. If you let the car drift over to the left, then it's not going to get a very good entry point for this next corner, and this next corner is a super crucial corner on the track. So you're hugging it to the right here, just kind of holding the car's line and understeer with throttle modulations. Then you flick it back hard to the left. Now you want to keep the car up on this left curb to really open the corner, and then slam the throttle on and push it out. And that's basically the whole sequence. Now it's not, this sequence of corners in this car isn't actually that difficult. This is pretty normal of what you'd experience at most tracks. But because of the nature of the downforce you're running here, you're actually really pushing the car both on the front and the rear end to keep it stable through here. And it's important to get it smooth. So you enter from wide, then keep it tight, then hard on the throttle. Then modulating the throttle to keep it left and stick hard to this right hander. Don't let it drift out. And then fling it back to the left to keep it on that inside line. That's a good run through that section. Maybe not completely perfect, but it's hard to get a perfect lap around here. Now the last corner, which makes or breaks the entire lap pretty much. This yellow thing here is a braking marker. I've actually on the brakes fairly early through this section slapped in, sometimes go a bit deeper than that. But I guess I knew this was a good lap, and it was importantly on a good 2-lap sequence, so I didn't want to mess it up. On the brakes, you want to throw the car with momentum over this inside chicane. That's fine. Then once again over the right one, and keep it right. You want to, after this second chicane, you want to get it back to the right. Give it a good entry. Then up over this left-hander. Then back over this right-hander. Then you get hard in the throttle to push it out. That was what I'd call a conservative run through that chicane. I wasn't really pushing the car or making it move too much. I just really didn't want to make a mistake. So you're braking a bit early here. You can brake better than that. Carrying the momentum and then keeping it right. And with each apex, you're just kind of decreasing the speed and momentum. I'm not really bashing the car or overly exerting it, just slowly bringing down the momentum to as the corner kind of radius descends. And that brings us to the finish line. That was a 58.4. Which I thought was a very solid lap. This was my first week at Le Mans. I'd never raced this track before. I wasn't really that fond of it because I thought it would just be unreasonable drafts in these cars, but I actually find you can break the cars behind you if you when going through these high-speed bits, and the pit stops help. So, very challenging track. Maybe a little bit boring on the straights, but the non-straight bits are great in it. Here's a full motion lap.